Oh, and with the fucking rain that is really hard on Stella's joints. Oh my God. That is part of the reason why she's just staying up. She's just going on the porch and laying out there and just crying. Oh, I just feel horrible. I just want this stuff to, I'm so ready to move to the next segment of this whole thing, like whatever it is. I'm just like ready. I'm so freaking burnt out on all of this shit, especially because of the physical stuff, you know. Anyways, me and Stella are quite the pair. I'm going blind, and she can barely walk around, but we have each other, so it makes everything better. But so what I wanted to explain is, so think about this. If you think about energy, and energy just becoming so excited, so big that it just like explodes, right? It just becomes more energy. That energy is released, and more energy comes from that. It's just like a big explosion, because that is what it is like for what consciousness is. It starts out as coming from one source, right? And then there is this combustible energy. It is like energy is always in movement. It's always a fluid, it's always going. And so when it comes and it merges like this and has this explosion, then all of this consciousness separates from what its source is. It separates, and it goes out into the world, out into space, out into a place that it is, free flowing, free flying energy. So as energy wants to understand itself, then it begins to question, like, who and what am I? Like, what am I? I'm just energy out here just floating around. Like, what am I? And the universe created this playground so that energy could understand what it was, separate from the whole. So it could go in and understand. And not only for its own purpose, but for the whole that it comes from. That has a purpose as well, to understand all of the different parts of itself. So all of us playing out these parts also gives this other being, this other source, this other energetic field that we came from. It gives it an idea of a representation of self, because it can see itself, it can understand itself. So you go in and you start having these incarnations to create experiences so you can understand yourself. But yourself is really not here. Yourself is really outside of here. It's somewhere else. It's watching. It's overseeing. It's looking. It's experiencing it through a projection. So you and it puts its imprint into this avatar. And what's so crazy is this avatar has to be birthed into this reality. And the whole thing about, birth and creation and stuff like that all has to do with this process, because everything is micro, macro. Everything is a representation of something else. It just depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at things deeper, what's the deeper meaning behind something, then you will start to see, because they want to keep us all on the surface. They want to keep us just distracted. So when you are birthed into this reality, your soul knows exactly what it's coming into. There is no surprises. You already know what your parents are like. You already know what your brother and sister are like. You still chose them. Because when you are outside of here and you don't have emotions and emotions and hormones and the stuff that interferes with how you feel about something, because it's about learning how to master those, to feel good, even if you have control over your emotions, you have control over what you pay attention to. And this is the experience that is teaching you that. So, and that's, that's why it's called an ascension. It's like a leveling up. It's an understanding of self on another level. And so in this reality where you come into, it is this reality is a three-dimensional reality. So it is so that you can understand your place, like you are seeing your place in the world. You're experiencing how you affect others, essentially. Like it shows you who you are by the reflection back. So, because like when you think about one-dimensional perspective, a two-dimensional perspective, you're receiving a three-dimensional perspective of who you are as self. So, and that's why none of this stuff is real. It's just a projection. It's just so that your higher self can experience what and who it is by, having this avatar. It's just the same as a video game. In a video game, you are the person on the couch. You go in, you create your avatar. You know exactly, what you're creating. And then in the game, you know what the game is. You know what your person needs. Does she need some guns? Does she need some armor? Like, what your avatar needs in the game. And you're going into the game. And so you yourself is different, but you are watching your own skills. You are learning and developing your skills as you witness your avatar. And that is micro macro representation of what is real, because that is what you are doing in real life, is you are watching yourself. But in this experience, right, the part of the awakening is this realization that you are caught up in the avatar. You are so caught up in, it's like you playing the video game thing again. Like you are in the video game, but you are thinking the video game is real. Like all of this stuff happening to you is real. It feels real, so it must be real. And, they put up a whole illusion in the video game. They create a whole arena, a whole world, this habitat that is created, it's a controlled environment. So when you are caught up in the player, then you are not understanding about purpose and what you're really doing and stuff. You're just caught up in the experience, like, oh, I got to fight this person again. Oh, this is happening. That's happening. You're just caught up in the game. When you are the player and you're sitting on the couch with the remote and you are witnessing your skills develop, you are watching yourself grow through this game, through this player that you've created. So in real life, when you are this awakening is happening so you can realize that you are in a game, that nothing is real. And you chose to come here just like you would choose what your avatar looked like in the video game. There's no surprises. So many people get caught up. I would never choose these parents. They're the worst parents. I would have chose, Joe's parents over there. Those parents, he had a good parent. No, you came here to learn what your lessons are from the parents you have, because it brings things to the surface. Like I've talked about before, it's like you get dealt a hand from everybody when you're young. And that hand is what you have to play through life. And it is kind of like Crazy Eights or something, you get to put it down when it's the right time. Oh, I knew she'd be right back. Hold on. Is he doing something? Okay, so then if you are, this blanket pile behind me. So anyways, then if you, sunk down. Hold on. Oh, okay. So if in the real life part, this awakening, this is the part where you begin to understand that you aren't the player in the game, that you are an eternal being. There is no death. That's just a concept in the game that they created. So, to keep you more in the game, like, you could die. Like, think about all of the creation of fear and control that comes from that. I mean, we're watching it play out because it's part of the awakening, is what has to come to the surface. And so you have to see what fear will do to you and how much you have been having fear created for you. But, they've always got that magic pill there to save you. And yesterday, this is just so ridiculous. And this is what I mean. Like, this stuff is all right before us. It's all coming to the surface. It's getting more and more absurd, more and more ridiculous all the time. Just like them packaging fucking human meat and making it like it's at the store, which, that's partly disclosure. But when you, what was it? It was a point that I needed to make there. I always go off on some other point because I've got so many things coming into, and, it's a lot when you start, listening to the other realms, when you aren't so connected into this game, when you disconnect from the game and you start being the one who's on the sidelines playing, when you realize the remote's in your hand, you're not the person in the game. You start realizing there's other players around you, and they're, a lot of them are trying to help you. They're telling you, oh no, go over there, do this, do that. And that's why when you get into the flow of life, you quit trying to fight it and you just get into the flow. Things just move in a direction. It's like you're in water. It just becomes fluid. Everything just becomes simple, but most people, they spend all of their time trying to fight what is destined, because destiny and fate is real. Like, there is nothing that you could do as the avatar. It's written. It's already written. But you get caught up in this illusion because they want to keep you focused on something else. Oh yeah, it was the drug thing. Okay, so yesterday I saw a commercial. I mean, the eye drop things got me going on. But this one, like I swear to God, is a commercial about the Ukraine and why we need to give money. And they're completely war torn at this point. They're, all of the stuff that they want to just fuck with our emotions and, have us so drained mentally, physically, emotionally. They just drain us of our energy, because that is what this reality has become, is just something that siphons your energy for it to grow. It's become a disease. It's become a beast. And, but, it's in this reality, it's blowing itself up because of its own greed and its own need for power. It's put stuff out of balance, so it's going to come back and hit them in the face. So the commercial yesterday that I saw, was every other one is drug or war. And this one was another one with depression. And when they say all the stuff at the end, I mean, the first thing they say may cause suicidal ideation, may cause suicide. And then towards the end it said may cause manic behavior. Okay, so if you have got this emotional problem, you're so depressed, you're suicidal, look at what you go and take this pill, and it could put you more suicidal. It could put you, I remember it was Prozac was the pill I was talking about before that. I couldn't remember the name because Paxil was the one I was on. And it was like, oh my gosh, it felt so good when I was on it. It was like all of a sudden I felt like I was powerful. I felt like I was so weak and so beat down. And I took this pill and all of a sudden I felt like a fucking, like, hey, you can't say that to me. Like, I felt powerful. It was crazy. But then when I had to go off of it, because I only stayed on it, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 months or something. And when I had to go off of it, I had to wean off of it. And it made me so, so sick. I couldn't believe it. It was like I went into this major migraine for a week, because your body becomes dependent on those chemicals, and then they pull them away and your body reacts. Well, that right there should show you. But the Prozac, I remember when there was so many Prozac, it seems like it was one of the first antidepressants that really came out, that was really marketed, where tons of people, like I'm sure every doctor you went in and said, because they even started doing that in doctor's office, giving this preliminary test. Oh yeah, you got a 10. Yeah, you need, this will help you. Just take this. Because the doctors are, you know, they are the drug deal. They're the street dealers in the office. You know, that's all they are. So with the Prozac, I remember there was tons of people who were killing themselves. And then they came out, oh, well, you know, I it's something in the drug, you know, we figured it out. We fixed it. But there was tons of people who were. And then when they were putting that right on the thing, oh, we got this new one. This is so great. But be careful, because you could want to kill yourself. Like, why would you even go and take it? I mean, they market it as like, oh, yesterday too, I saw a beer commercial. The beer commercial, oh, everyone's out on the beach. They're running around. They're playing. It's just frolicking around, drinking their beer and joy and happiness. You know, they're selling you. They're selling you a lifestyle. Just drink that beer and you can have that life too. And the same thing with the pills, you know. They are, with the pills, it's like, you know, you have some girl who's just sitting there like, oh, my life is just sucks. I can't get, I'm just different than everyone. I'm just so alone, and I can't get myself out of this. Everything, it means nothing, you know. But they have this magic pill, just take this and you'll feel so much better. And then, you know, they take it and suddenly their life changes. They're so happy. But there's other things going on inside your body. That's why if you do go on any of these things, it has to be temporary, and you have to be working on what the issue is. Putting a Band-Aid over a seeping wound is not going to help you. It's just prolonging what is inevitable. So when the painful stuff is coming up, it's not the time to run and get a pill. It's the time, or to run and get a beer so that you can live in joy and happiness. No, the time when this stuff is coming up is to face it. Face it head on. It seems like it's a fucking two-headed dragon, but when you go in and look, it's a fucking mouse with a mask on. It's not as big as what we think it is. We get so caught up in the illusion, and we think like things are going to be so much harder to get over than they are. And we just package it away, pack it away, put it in a closet, put it in a suitcase. And then we end up carrying this baggage, you know, on our shoulders throughout our life. And then we become super defensive and reactive because, you know, don't mess with my fucking bags, man. These are my bags. And you don't even realize that you are defending your bags all the time. The baggage you carry, you just become defensive of it. But when you go in and you actually face it, and you see it's not a two-headed dragon, and you see what it is, pull it out like it's a little kitten. I'm just gonna pet it here. I'm just gonna let it heal. And you heal those wounds, which relieves the pressure. It empties more out of the bag. The bag becomes less heavy. And that is what you want to be doing, not running and getting a beer, not running and getting a pill. It is just facing yourself head on. And that's why all of this stuff is going to happen, why this energetic cosmic experience from the changing of the ages. Because when we were coming in and incarnating in these different ages, you come in for the experience that that age has to offer. And you come in so that you can grow from that age. If you go and you stand back as an observer and you look at the generational changes, this is what I keep talking about. When you look at these generational changes that have happened for the collective over time, you see the purpose behind these experiences, because it really does change how we act and react with each other. And when you begin to own your own stuff, you empower yourself. So you take ownership of your own pain, and you go in to try and heal that pain. And you have to look at yourself, you have to look at some shadow sides of yourself, the side that you don't see when you look in the mirror with the lights on. It's the side of yourself that stays hidden, that other people can see. That's why I said things are becoming very transparent. You can see through somebody else's stuff, but they haven't seen it yet. But, not all hope is lost, because this energetic cosmic event that is going to create this opportunity for everyone to get to see themselves, because this is an evolution. This is an ascension. This is an opportunity for you to take your pain and grow it into something different. It's like transmuting that energy, taking a hold, taking control. It's like as if you are playing the game, and then, your avatar all of a sudden looks over and sees you on the couch, and you two merge together. Hey, we can do this together. And that is where you begin to look at life in a different way. You begin to see it because now you've got more vision. You've got vision from out here. You've got vision from in there. You're in the game, but you also can look and see what the game is. You can see the different players. You can see the illusion behind the game. And so then you start working with your avatar. It is that mind, body, spirit. It is the connection of self. And then when you can begin to realize about the illusion, and you begin to see about your projection of self, because you are a part of the illusion. You are an illusion yourself. You are just an expression of self, so that self can understand self. So you are just playing a part. That everything that you're convinced of what this world is, and that what you are is, all meant to control you. Because the people who have control, they understand about consciousness. They understand about the cosmic spiritual aspect of life. But that's why they don't want you to understand. That's why they put so much misinformation and nonsense out. Why they create religion, and then they make it just this ridiculous, like it's a game or something. It's not real. Religion is just another paradigm that they create to control us. So when you, when you authentically want to understand yourself, when you want to really truly become your true self, you have to break down all of these different walls and barriers that throughout the game that you put on, to shield yourself, to protect yourself. So then it is this unpacking the bags so that you can bring it all out, so you can look at it and you can see like what you don't need in your bag anymore. But you have to have those hard looks at yourself. You have to accept yourself. And that is the part where learning to accept yourself is how you learn to accept others. Like it's part of the process in the development. And the souls that are in this three-dimensional paradigm right now that are trying to move out of it, some of them have been, I think, trapped here for a long time. I mean, there's a big reason why all of these different beings came from all over the place to help mankind to move out of this energy, because the planet is doing it. The planet is moving out of this dark energy. It's saving itself. And it's up to each of us to save ourselves. And so, there's just so much of where people want to point fingers at other people. It's your fault. It's your fault that we're going through this still. And they're not. The whole thing is so you look at yourself. And there's so much distraction that people aren't truly looking at themselves. So they don't even know what bias, bullies, and arrogance that they carry into this world. They haven't started to heal that part. And that's the parts that they need to heal in order to transform themselves, to release their old pain so that they can ascend into the fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional aspects of self, so that you can move into this other component of what you are, you know. So in the fourth dimension is when you start connecting with your avatar and your controller, you, the person with the remote, your higher self. When they come in, when you start to begin to look at life from this observer perspective, so that you can see things. And when you get to that point, that's when you start really spiritually awakening to, to what doesn't, there's so much stuff that we think matters that doesn't matter. And then you get into that part, like, oh, this doesn't even matter. Like, I'm sitting here giving all my emotions and anger and control over to this thing that doesn't matter. So when you start getting that observer perspective, and when we start getting to the fifth and sixth, it's going to be about this, where we move into this being able to control our avatar more, to be able to, to go against time and space, to see your part in time and space, to see your part of everything you're connected to. And that's where portals and time travel and how we move through this world, this universe, these realities, how that will start to change. And that is why this, this age of Aquarius is going to be such exciting times, because it is us all beginning to really understand what we're capable of. And, this is the part where I always am like, I don't know, on material side of this, like, about the whole thing with our bodies. I've talked about this before. Like, I don't know all of this stuff. Like, do we take our bodies with us? But that one day when they were showing me, and I was driving in the car and they showed me, I was like, oh, we wouldn't know we weren't in our same bodies. It's going to feel exactly the same. So even if something happens, and, all of our bodies disintegrate all of a sudden, you won't know it. Because your consciousness is, you're going to be so in tune with your consciousness, you will create your own being of self. So it doesn't really matter, what is going to happen. It's all an illusion. There is no death. This is a transformation of consciousness to get to expand. It's a big, like, an ascension is a huge leveling up for consciousness. If you haven't read like the Book of One, then that has got so much good stuff. There's so much information out there that you yourself can start going out and reading different stuff, and you will develop your own understanding. You may not explain it the way I explain it. You may see things in a different way, because we're all going to see what level we're at. Whatever level we're at, that is what we will have our understanding be. But, that's why we're always trying to grow and expand and understand ourselves as an energetic being, as a consciousness. So you will, this is all about this development of self. So you will begin to, there's so much about releasing stuff that doesn't matter, and focusing on self. And there's so much about when you do these things, you stop judging others, you stop judging yourself, you accept yourself, you accept others when you accept yourself. And we just go into a more peaceful time, but the time that's peaceful between us, because we no longer judge ourselves and judge others, and we accept everyone, and we understand that we're here to learn. That is when we're going to just spend our time really developing ourselves, like the healing centers and stuff like that. There's going to be so much about people healing themselves and understanding their control to heal themselves, and how good it feels to heal yourself. I mean, it is, completely what I know Jesus was talking about with the rebirth and the baptism and stuff. It all has to do with, it is truly, when you do your work, you are a different person comes out of the water. It's not the same person. They do these symbolic things, but the real reason of it, the real metaphor or whatever is this release of what was old, your old self. A new self is coming out. And when you heal, because a baptism is supposed to be this reigniting your life, letting go of all of these things and this new purpose. And it really is like that. When you do your healing and stuff, you'll find that you aren't the same person you were. And it's weird when people will talk about you and what you would have done, because it's like, oh, I would never do that now. I'm completely different, because we do learn from our mistakes when we're paying attention. And usually we feel stupid and we're embarrassed, and so we hide from them. We don't want to face them. And we want to think that everybody else is out to get us, that we're just the victim here. Our hands are tied. There's nothing we could do. We don't realize that we're actually making choices all the time. But the choices that we're making is so that our higher self can witness itself. And so many times we're playing parts for other people. So, to get caught up in the illusion, it doesn't make any sense, because you don't really understand it on the level that you're judging it. So anyways, the lights went off back there. It's probably a sign like, okay, Kelly, you said enough, because, I know I start repeating myself and start saying the same thing, but I keep being like, I'm trying to get this across of what it all is about. And, I know that it, even if it doesn't make any sense and I sound like I'm talking crazy talk, it's still, it's planting a seed, and somewhere along the road of your life, you will have somebody else come in and water. Like, things will start making sense. I can't even believe how many conversations I've had where even my one friend where, we are both, when we talk, it's all about spiritual stuff. And, but when we are talking, there's certain things that we don't see for ourselves. Even if the other person is telling us something, we don't see it for ourselves, but then timing happens and certain things happen, and all of a sudden we see it. It's like, oh my gosh, you know what I just realized? And it'd be like, oh, well, I've been telling you that. I've noticed that, but see, we don't see what we're there's a certain time we're supposed to see things. There's a certain time we're supposed to understand things. And it is all about this timing and destiny and the way your soul decided to play this stuff out. So, and like I've said before, some of these people, like some of their stuff, it just seems so crazy, but it's their soul that decided on these pathways. It has no meaning to any of us. There's no reason for us to judge somebody else who's just going through just crazy stuff. It's like, that's what they came here to learn about. So it's really none of my fucking business, And part of that arrogance and ego of wanting to, well, I see this, don't do that, do this. That is part of what I have to release. It's not my business. I think I know best, but obviously their soul knows best for them. I'm not their God. I'm my God. So we all have to tune into our own higher selves and realize that our own higher selves is what is giving us our guidance. Your higher self is there talking to you all the time, trying to get you to listen. If you're so caught up in the game, you're so caught up in the illusion, I've got to go over here because I've really got to get this job. I've got to do this no matter what. And your higher self is sitting there going, well, when that doesn't work out, they'll learn from that, when they're watching, they're just going through the experience to see, like, essentially they're seeing what they would do. They're understanding about themselves. So Anyways, I don't know if I've made anything make more sense, but you know, even if things don't make sense, just remember it will unfold itself. You know, you have inner knowing, you have stuff that you're supposed to know at certain times. And you know, the universe is going to give you those things, those lessons when you're supposed to have them. But you know, if you are one of those people who are sitting there in your, you know, on your golden throne, thinking that you're smarter than everyone else, you know, you didn't do this, so you know you're going to be a survivor, and you don't need to worry about your health, then you are very mistaken. You really need to worry about your health. I mean, we are being bombarded with these bio weapons at this point, and you know, in their nanotechnology, that's the fucking word. So, you know, and I know it has something to do with this frequency thing. And I was singing yesterday, you know, some of these frequencies that I can hear them and they're so loud, but how many people don't hear them and don't realize that there's something that's interfering with how they're thinking at the time? Like when people start really understanding the energetic interference that we have on the daily basis, then they will realize how important it is to take time for yourself, to disconnect from others, to unplug, and to focus on yourself, because you are literally fighting the world and you don't even realize it. So anyways, I will talk to you later.